Greetings, Rigil Agateiades here, and what a deck we have today. Since the new supports for the Watts arrived a while ago, and I got a royal copy of WATTkiNgdom, brace yourselves as we're in for a lot of puns. So, the Watts. An archetype so old it had a recruiter like a giant rat, the only thing one would remember about them was the Wattlock. A board of 2 Watt hoppers to make the opponent unable to attack or target Watt monsters with card effects. Interactions? No idea what you're talking about. From there, the deck got no attention whatsoever. But last year, out of the blue, they got a wave of support. Not sugarcoating it, they're still quite underwhelming. But at least it's now a playable deck. With Tuna and WATTkiNgdom enabling a 1-card combo that ends in a draw lock and Thunder Dragon Colossus, is a lot more compared to the old Wattlock. In the battle phase. Yes, of course, to retain the uniqueness of the archetype, the new cards have to inherit both the niche property of being able to attack directly and the terrible activation condition of inflicting battle damage by a direct attack. This means we can only go second, not ideal when everyone have unbreakable boards and the like. Well, we can fix that with a lot of hand traps and going second cards, and this is the electrifying result. Let's explain how this works. First of all, you have the combo starter, Cobra. Wait, what? A combo? Yes, Watts can now combo. This 1000 attack snake can attack directly, and when it inflicts battle damage when doing so, it searches a Watt monster. Old card with an old-fashioned effect, but does come with the surprising upside of being Ash immune as it activates in the damage step. This condition is also the same for the other cards in the combo. The target it searches is the new tuner of the deck, Tuna. I'm not alone with the puns. This new tuner special summons itself when a monster inflicts battle damage to the opponent, hence it can immediately summon itself after being searched off Cobra. Attack directly with this 800 attack monster, and when it inflicts battle damage directly, it special summons a Watt synchro monster by tributing monsters from the hand or field. The synchro you summon off Tuna is WATTkiNgdom. When inflicting battle damage directly, it special summons a Watt synchro monster by shuffling a Watt tuner from the graveyard and a face-up non-tuner thunder monster into the deck. Attack directly with WATTkiNgdom, and we get to the last Watt monster in the combo, and the actual piece of interaction, WATTkiNgdom. When inflicting battle damage directly, WATTkiNgdom randomly puts a card in your opponent's hand back to the top of their deck, essentially denying your opponent's next draw. Extra emotional damage if your WATTkiNgdom is a royal finish. Finally, you end the battle phase and conveniently slap a Colossus onto the field. Because you activated a Thunder monster effect in the hand in Tuna, you can summon Colossus by tributing any Thunder monster on your field. Way more threatening than the rest of the combo line, Colossus locks your opponent out of searches and comes with inbuilt protection. No draws, no searches, your opponent had to use what's left in their hand to win the duel. While not as threatening as unbreakable boards or straight OTKs and the such, the Watt combo does come with upsides. First of all, it ignores quite some cards. With the entire combo happening in the damage step, a lot of common cards can't respond at any point of the combo. Ash Blossom, Fenrir, and even the Fire Princess cannot trigger as you trickle them down with direct attacks. Secondly, not a lot of people know what your cards do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. This element of surprise helps the deck a lot, because there are traps that your opponent can easily walk out of, but they still do walk into them because Yu-Gi-Oh players don't read. One example is using Imperm on Watt monsters. The usual habit is to wait for monster effects to activate and then chain Imperm to them. But that doesn't work against the Watts. Because all the Watt monster effects activate in the damage step, your opponent actually has to toggle on and activate Imperm before the Watt effect activates. If you're lucky, by the time they realize that, WATTkiNgdom already resolved and they're out of draws. The other such trap that they walk into a lot is WATTkiNGdom. This continuous spell is one of the ways to get into WATTcobra, but it actually comes with a terribly worded floodgate effect. While it's on the field, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the same column as a WATT monster when it is normal or special summon. No idea why they can't make this a full field effect, or at least a negate so you can play with summoning WATTs off quick effects, or stop effects as a whole and not just when a monster is special summoned. Anyway, right now this can be easily avoided by summoning to some empty column. But some players just don't read. With this floodgate effect, countless players just walk into it unexpectedly and question why their game is bugged. Potentially game changing, just pray that your opponent wasn't paying attention to your WATT columns. Another more practical way of using this card would also be to use it on the extra monster zones to stop link monsters when they are summoned. That's pretty much every card in the deck. The rest are hand traps, good generic cards, and some electrifying board breakers. Now let's get on to the replays. First Duel, and we'll show what this deck can do in an ideal situation. A direct attack OTK. Our opponent is on some Yugioh pow, no idea what he's cooking, but he at least got the Phantom of Yugioh and the Garcia on the field. The 3500 attack not really relevant to our deck though. Our turn, we start with the old reliable Feather Duster. Have to do that, otherwise Nightmare Pain would redirect all our attacks and then we start comboing. Normal summon WATTcobra, summon WATTgiraffe from the deck with WATTkiNGdom and equip Psychic Blade. Doesn't have to be Psychic Blade, things like Hip Hoshiningen or Luminous Spark also works, as long as you get 2000 attack worth. Giraffe stops all our opponent's effects, summon WATTtuna, get the attack in, summon WATTQki, summon our Royal WATT Chimera, and we go in for exactly 8000 lethal. A very direct combo, all it takes is anything but WATTtuna, WATTkiNGdom, and a 2000 attack boost. Second Duel, we go against the Swordzo branded deck. Our opponent starts with a Moyi normal summon, we throw our Ghost Ogre since there's nowhere better to use it on. And lucky us, our opponent had no worm in hand. Nothing to discard for the long one, so he searches Taya instead, and we're up against a single token. Not like we'll go against a lot with Duster and Lightning Storm in hand. Our turn, we start with Photon Sanctuary for a Hip Hoshiningen. But in hindsight, probably should have gone into something useful as a board since we can't do lethal. Photon Sanctuary also locks you to light monsters. Go into our normal combo, WATTcobra into WATTtuna, into WATTQki, into WATT Chimera. After undoing our opponent's draw and destroying the one token that kept him alive, we fire off Prosperity. Give me a hand trap! No hand traps, so no interactions. Tough luck. Best we can do is summon a WATT Dragonfly with WATTkiNGdom to lock out the extra monster zone. Back to our opponent, and he shows a hand quite similar to what we have. Start with a Raigeki, grateful for that since we trigger Hip Hoshiningen to add back Ghost Ogre, and WATT Dragonfly simply floats. Then Hand Destruction removes our Ghost Ogre, Heavy Storm removes the Kingdom, but our opponent is out of cards. Normal summon Springen Kit to search Branded Fusion, but he didn't have a card to tuck back into the deck, so no branded combo. And not like we can't make a comeback next turn with a Raigeki and Imperm. Normal summon WATTgiraffe, and with WATTcobra as well, that's way more than lethal. Final duel, and we go against something way more functional, a normal Centurion deck. Our opponent starts with the field spell into Primera, held our Maxi to dodge Gamma, and we draw Imperm at just the right time. Use that on Oxala, and we don't have to deal with Crimson Dragon shenanigans. Our opponent searches Drillsworm with Nobelian and passes. Our turn, we start with Photon Sanctuary for not one, but two Hip Hoshiningens. This way we get a whopping 1000 attack boost to do lethal even through a pop. Normal summon WATT Dragonfly, special summon WATTgiraffe with WATTkiNGdom, and we go into the battle phase. Always start with WATTgiraffe to force out negates, and then we walk over Oxala with the double Hip Hoshiningen boost. Hip Hoshiningen attack before WATT Dragonfly to bait out the Drillsworm, triggering its effect, but WATT Dragonfly was normal summoned and stays. Direct attack and triggering WATTtuna. WATTtuna for WATTQki for more damage, but that takes another Imperm, so no draw lock for us. This actually means trouble because we're locked to light thunder monsters, so there's nothing we can do to make a board when our opponent already has follow-up. Prepare to just look at our opponent combo all day, but what a blessing! Our opponent didn't read WATTkiNGdom and walked straight into our floodgate. Not once, but twice. Primera doesn't activate, Yugioh doesn't activate, and he has no options left when summoning Little Knight since it's a link monster. Finally, he ends on Typhon, his victory thrown away because he didn't read a Watt card. Well, that's part of the benefit of using a deck that no one uses, right? So that's what it's like. While it definitely can't win meta boards and such, it is undoubtedly an interesting deck. Now with a one card combo that achieves something, the Watts can steal wins if you draw just the right hand, and even more if your opponent didn't read WATTkiNGdom. If you want a deck that won't make you lose friends because you're simply not letting them play, this deck might just be the right deck, as it lets them play for a while, and then attacking them directly, ignoring their board. That's it from me today. Latest.